Well, folks, the 2018 season is finally over. Champions are crowned. Rookies have been crowned. So we are going to be looking back at the Homestead Championship races, as all three of them have not only won the race at Homestead, but also clinched the championship in all three series. So what is the best and worst of 2018, and what are we going to expect next year? Well, we're going to have to find out. His name is Chris. My name is Corey, and welcome to the C&J Speedway review. Welcome back, folks, to the C&J Speedway review. My name is Corey Huffnagel, and we are going to be recapping the Homestead Championship races, as all three champions have been crowned in all three series. One who was an underdog, the other one who was another underdog, and then the other one who was probably not picked favorite, but ended up, sneaking in anyway. So let's go to the hotline now. Always a pleasure to chat with the man from the Loki Jaboni show. Always a pleasure. Please welcome Chris Burns. Chris, now that the season's already over, what are you thinking about doing now until February?
Drinking beer and watching football. That's it. and possibly throwing Christmas in there somewhere. Not sure yet.
Yeah.
But, wow, what a fantastic weekend it was. All three races, as you said, won by the eventual champion. Two surprises. One, in my opinion, not so much a surprise. I think I actually picked him as my champion. However, having said that, it was great to have you and the lovely Miss Chelsea Tzatziki Sauce come down to Mark Azarju's place in Uncasville, Connecticut, and do flag-to-flag coverage of the Ford EcoBoost 400 as we did our thing for the race. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it if you watched. If not, go back and check a little bit of it out. People came in, sat down, talked. We got breaks, fantastic food, and above all else, just a fantastic championship race.
Absolutely.
So, if we have no news on the docket, I'm not sure. I haven't talked to you in a couple. How you feeling?
I've been feeling all right.
Thanksgiving was good.
Yeah, Thanksgiving was pretty good. I got to spend time with family. Me and Chelsea, we were down there for a few days, and the grandparents are all great. The cousins are great too, and not to mention we also saw Creed 2 when we were down there as well. Great movie. I had to say, Apollo Creed beating, not Apollo Creed, Adonis Creed beating the younger son of Apollo Creed. I thought it was fantastic, but great city. And also the go-karts down there was fun as well. And, it was a great time. Karts were pretty fast. The track was really easy for me to do. And except the second track was one of the most winding turns there was, but I figured that out in the second.
So all you got to do is get that car dialed in and you find your way to victory.
Oh,
lane.
I did.
Any news and information as we begin the silly season? And guys, by the way, during silly season, as we lead up to Speed Weeks, we will be on every other week, starting this week.
Yeah. So one news story that just jumped out, and this happened yesterday. So Matt Tifft is going to be driving for Front Row Motorsports in 2019, driving the team's number 36 car. So just remember, guys, Front Row Motorsports now will field 3 cars in 2019. So one will be David Reagan, the other one will be Matt Tifft, and the other one will be Michael McDowell. So reason being, of course, if you guys remember a couple months ago when Front Row Motorsports bought what happened was BK Racing sold one of their racing charters, and I guess Front Row Motorsports ended up buying their race charters, and now they have 3 cars in their field next year. So I have to tell you this, the way I look at Front Row Motorsports, this is probably one team that, that's been kind of consistent, but when it comes to super speedway racing, don't count these guys out in the mix. Cause of course, David Reagan, he's won at Talladega before, Michael McDowell, he's good whenever it comes to the restrictor plate tracks. And now you got Matt Tifft, who's going to be coming in from the Xfinity series and is going to be racing in the Cup series. So if you look at it, he only ran one season with Joe Gibbs and then ran a season this year for Richard Childress Racing. The way I think about Matt Tifft, he's a consistent driver, but now that he's going to be in the Cup Series next year, I think I'm going to take a really good close on him and see if see if he ends up doing good with that team. And plus, not to mention, we also have that new rules package that's going to be coming in for 2019. So it should make things a little bit interesting come racing-wise.
I will agree with that. One problem I have with the whole front row motorsports thing, and this will go back to another row, furniture row racing. I understand that furniture row and Barney Visser want to get out of the racing game. They say it's a little too hard, it's a little too money consuming, time consuming. They field a championship car or a championship worthy car the last few years, especially last season 2017 where Martin Truex wins the whole thing. Front row motorsports aren't lighting the world on fire when you look at the finishes of these races. Yes, they're decent. They're getting there. They're figuring it out. But how now? I understand they bought the charter and all this other rigmarole. I won't say anything about the Schnabitz or the Fernham. But what I will say is that you would think that maybe front row motorsports may have wanted to go out and broker a deal with Furniture Row and say, let's put these teams together. On the one side, you have championship contender over the last few years in the 78 of Martin Truex Jr., who's running for that team, and they're putting that car together at Furniture Row. That could only help front row racing. But instead, we're just buying charters, and I hate to say it, I like Matt Tifft. I think the kid's got a lot of upside, but I don't necessarily see front row motorsports lighting the world on fire next season.
I probably don't think so as well.
Any other news?
So Chase Briscoe also lands a full-time ride this time and in the Xfinity Series. So next year, he's going to be running the 98 car for Stewart-Haas Racing with Fred Biaggi in 2019, driving the number 98 Nutri Chomp for 13 races this year. So it looks as if it's SHR is going to be fielding Chase Briscoe and Cole Custer. So this should be very interesting next year to see how this team does. And of course, with Chase Briscoe winning on the Roval at Charlotte and then Cole Custer winning at Texas, I kind of thought to myself, I was expecting the 00 team to be a championship threat this year. I mean, they did go to the championship 4, no doubt about it. But of course, that last pit stop cost them right at the end. But I just look at Cole Custer's season. I mean, he's been pretty consistent. And, he's running the top 5, top 10 almost every single week. But now you got Chase Briscoe coming into the mix. And I kind of thought about this a couple months back. So my little theory was, so let's say if Cole Custer was going to move up to the Cup Series next year, I would have saw Chase Briscoe take over that ride. Now you have the 98 and the 00, teaming up next year. I think this is going to be a team that you're going to have to watch out for next season because I look at Chase Briscoe, he's got talent, and I look at Cole Custer, he's got talent as well.
Absolutely. It's going to be a good fit no matter what. I really dig Chase Briscoe. I think his star just continues to rise. He continues to prove people wrong every time he gets behind the wheel of the car. And again, I know I'm repeating myself, but he has tremendous upside. He really, really does.
And if you think about it, we're probably not going to see a lot of Cup guys in the Xfinity Series or in the Truck Series next year with all these with all the young talent that's coming in. So I think if you look at next season, I probably say the only Cup guys that you're going to see is pretty much the guys from Penske, Keselowski, Logano, and Blaney, and then of course Kyle Busch is going to be running a couple of races as well. And then you might see the Dillon brothers and then Daniel Hemrick and then mostly anybody that comes in. But nowadays, the way I see it, you're probably not going to see the big names, that are going to come down. Like, for instance, Kevin Harvick, he said he's not going to be doing any Xfinity races anymore. And then, of course, Kyle Busch, he's probably not going to be doing a lot of Xfinity races within the next year, depending on how his season goes and so forth. But I just think that next year, we're going to see a lot of this young talent improve, and we're going to see it, take over in 2019. The Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, and quite frankly, I'd have to say maybe in the Cup Series next year.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
1,000%. Well, let's move right into the order of business, which is, I believe it was the Ford EcoBoost 200, which was the truck race a week and change ago. A week and change ago. Today's Wednesday, so a week and a half ago. It was a Friday night. Oh, no, see, I'm off again. Almost 2 weeks ago. Don't quote me. But, man, going into that race, I know we had our picks and we talked about who could tip the apple cart and who came in and tipped the apple cart. But our man, Brett Moffitt, now 6 wins strong on the season and the Camping World Truck Series Championship. Ran a fantastic race. I believe he led 40 laps of the race. Could be wrong.
Yep.
And just really, he went out there. He had something to prove. 1, I need a full-time ride. And 2, I deserve to be in this championship 4. And boy, did he show it. He was fantastic.
He showed it a lot, 110%. And watching this race 2 weeks ago, it looked as if it was going to come down between Noah Gragson and Brett Moffitt. But, of course, Gragson had his little mishap right near the end. But I think if you just look at this entire race, the only 2 cautions that we had was pretty much the stage cautions. So I kind of thought to myself, all right, I thought it was going to be, an exciting race. I thought it was going to be like a lot of 3-wide passing, a lot of crashes. But it turns out we didn't see a lot of that in this race. But we did see the championship 4 guys, run pretty good. You look at Brett Moffitt, who ended up winning the race in the championship. Gragson ended up coming up short. But I have to talk about one guy that kind of ran pretty much awful the way I look at it is pretty much Johnny Sauter. And
exactly
from it looks like it, everybody, and I probably bet that everybody was picking him to win the championship. A, because he's won the championship before. B, he's had a strong season. C, it's the playoffs. I mean, he can get through almost anything. But running in 12th, I was just actually kind of surprised. I mean, he was one of the guys that I kind of expected, him to challenge the title with Gragson, Moffitt, and Haley. But I just have to say that 21 truck, was pretty much on an off night.
Yeah, and it just looked like he was out there just collecting laps, collecting points. It wasn't really a factor throughout the entire race. And I felt bad for him, and we'll talk about that when we go into the finishing order. But, man, that kid, when you got Brett Moffitt out of that truck and they give him the championship trophy, I've never seen – every time you see someone win a championship, we'll talk about the other 2 as we go along. But Brett Moffitt just seemed completely 1,000% elated in the moment. Like, I really did this. This is mine. And it was as if the weight was lifted off his shoulders. He's got the specter of not having a full-time ride next year on his shoulders. He's got everybody thinking he's the underdog. Well, he went out there and sliced through that field like nobody's business. And when he got to the front, he stayed in the front.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say it's probably the underdog story of the year. And then I look at, the fact that he doesn't have a full-time ride or he doesn't have any plans for next season. I kind of thought to myself, I really think Dale Jr. should take a look at this kid because with Tyler Reddick now going to Richard Childress Racing, I thought to myself, all right, so Gragson has a full-time ride in the 1 car, but now we have to decide, all right, who's going to take over Tyler Reddick's ride? And I'm kind of thinking to myself, I really think Dale Jr. should look at this kid and say, you know what? He won the championship. He was pretty much, not everyone's favorite to win the title, but I really think we should give him a shot.
Absolutely. So let's go through the running order. Brett Moffitt, obviously, we talked about it once. We're going to talk about it again. Wins the race and the Craftsman Truck Series Championship. Grant Enfinger came in 2nd. Noah Gragson 3rd. Stuart Friesen 4th. Apollo Creed came in 5th. I'm never going to say his first name, ever. Not even if there's a fire. He's always going to be Apollo Creed. Matt Craft in 6th. John Nemechek 7th. Justin Haley 8th. Jesse Little 9th. And Ben Rhodes rounds out your top 10. Other notables, Harrison Burton in 11th. Johnny Sauter 12th. Todd Gilliland 13th. Myatt Snyder 14th. Jeb Burton 18th. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot Ross Chastain coming home in 16th. Moving down the list, Jennifer Jo Cobb, 28th, and Joe Nemechek, 31st. And that's about it. That is really it. What a fantastic close to a fantastic season. Give me a happy and give me a sad for this race.
Well, my happy would definitely have to go to Brett Moffitt. I mean, just look at it. He's, he won the championship, 6 races he's won this year, and I just have to say that, at the start of the season, I never even expected him to win the championship. I didn't even pick him to go to the playoffs at all, but I guess he proved everybody wrong this season, and he was just pretty much, we're down. We were down, but we weren't out. And my sad And my sad would definitely have to go to Johnny Sauter because, like I said earlier, had a bad race, didn't really have the best truck to win the championship or the race in general.
Mm-hmm. And my picks are the same reasons. But for me, Johnny Sauter, I mean, this is a guy going in that everybody saw being the big dog. This is the one you have to beat. Gregson made some really great runs throughout the year and kept himself points-wise in the hunt. Justin Haley, 3 wins, I believe. Yes, right there, 3 wins. Kept himself in the hunt. But as the season wore on, the more we talked about Brett Moffitt going to victory lane, he was just one of those guys both of us had kept our eyes on so many times. And when we did the preview for the Miami race, that was the guy we said, you know what, this is our sleeper. This is really going to be a guy, not our sleeper pick when we do the picks, but it was like, this is the guy that's going to do it. If anybody's going to come in and ruin somebody else's championship hopes, Brett Moffitt. And he did it in a way that he has to get noticed now. This kid needs a ride. # give Brett a ride.
Yes.
So we're going to go to the final point standings. I'm going to give you the top 10 finishers for the year, starting with champion Brett Moffitt in first. Noah Gragson, a very respectable runner-up in second. Justin Haley third, and Johnny Sauter fourth. Grant Enfinger fifth. Matt Crafton sixth. Stuart Friesen seventh. Ben Rhodes eighth. Myatt Snyder ninth. And Todd Gilliland rounds out your top 10 in points for the season that was in the 2018 Craftsman Truck Series. Now we go on to the points. Now, I had tinkered with the idea as I was driving home tonight from Championship Land, Middletown, Connecticut. And I said to myself, you know what? We're not going to do the points. But while I'm waiting for this connection, I wrote down and where the finishes were, and probably the closest finishes we've had all 3 divisions. And you'll see in just a moment, because Corey took Stuart Friesen as his lock. He finished 4th. He took Myatt Snyder as his sleeper. He finished 14th. You add that up, you get 18. You divide it by 2. Corey, your finish on the Truck Series was 9. I took Noah Gragson as my lock. He finished 3rd. I took Johnny Sauter as my sleeper. He finished 12th. You add that up, you get 15. Divide that by 2, and my finish was a 7.5, separated only by 1.5 points. The closest finish ever on the Truck Series, if I'm looking back through my notes correctly, other than that one tie, but that doesn't count. And because the highest finisher wins the championship, I am your Craftsman Truck Series champion of the world.
Congrats.
Yeah, whatever. It's picks. It doesn't mean anything. But again, I can't say it enough. Congratulations to Brett Moffitt. Brett, if you ever see this, we are behind you 1,000%. You need a full-time ride. If they don't give you one, let an Xfinity team put you in their car and go do it again on the Xfinity Series. Wouldn't it be cool to see a back-to-back championship like that?
It'd be really cool.
We almost saw it this year, because now we move on to the Ford EcoBoost 300, the Xfinity race. And there was a shot, man. Christopher Bell, being the incumbent champion on the Truck Series, moves up to the Xfinity Series, has himself a monster year, if I do say so myself. 7 wins. He topped the list. Justin Allgaier was the only one close to him with 5 wins. But Christopher Bell makes that championship 4. But wait, Christopher Bell is not your champion. Why? Because some late race strategy moved the 9 car of Tyler Reddick into the lead of that race. And when Tyler Reddick got in clean air, nobody could touch him. And Tyler Reddick wins the race and the Xfinity Series championship for the year 2018. We both watched this race. What was it? And I know we're going to touch on it a little bit, but Tyler Reddick, nobody saw this coming. This is the second surprise.
I didn't even see it coming at all. I mean, if you look at the race, it looked as if it was going to be the Cole Custer from a year ago, which dominated and won the race. I mean, won all 2 of the stages. It looked as if he was going to end up winning the race and the championship, but that late race pit strategy cost that 0-0 team to not only win it. But I just look at Tyler Reddick, and the one thing that I kind of thought of was, it was pretty much, all right, he made the championship 4. I didn't really expect him to do much, but when he was out in that lead, and he was out by like 5 seconds, nobody couldn't even touch him. And then, of course, Christopher Bell, who made the championship 4 on a win, he pretty much was in it until I'd say like 10 laps to go when he cut down the tire, and that literally ruined his championship hopes. But not only that, like I just look at Tyler Reddick's season. Yes, he won a Daytona back in February. But what did he do since then? I mean, he was consistent, but consistency wasn't going to get you anywhere. And of course, he was consistent throughout the whole entire playoffs. But like I said, I didn't really predict him to go to the championship or win the championship. But again, he proved all the odds, and I was pretty much proved wrong anyway. But anyways, but like I said, Junior Motorsports, I mean, they have a really good race team as of right now, and I look at Noah Gragson next year that's coming in. I could probably see him maybe doing the same thing.
Oh, without question. He's one of those guys. And look, we blow up Noah Gragson every chance we get on this show, and rightfully so. The kid is amazing. But you're right. Junior Motorsports is figuring it out, and I have a feeling they're going to be the team to beat for the next few years. And I'm not saying that they're going to win multiple championships, although they might. But they're going to be consistently the cars to beat any given Saturday on the Xfinity Series.
No doubt.
All right, so let's go to the finishing order. As we mentioned, Tyler Reddick comes home with the win and the championship. Cole Custer, second. John Hunter Nemechek, third. Daniel Hemrick, fourth. Austin Cindric, fifth. Ryan Preece, sixth. Justin Allgaier, seventh. Brandon Jones, eighth. Michael Annett, ninth. And Matt Tifft rounds out your top 10. Your other notables, Christopher Bell finished 11th. Chase Briscoe, 13th. Ross Chastain, 16th. Spencer Gallagher, 17th. Kaz Gralla, 18th. I just wanted to say his name. It doesn't mean anything, but finishing 34th was Cesar Baccarella. You have J.J. Yaley finishing 36th. Jeff Green accidentally finished in 39th, leaving Vinnie Miller to finish 40th on the race. I'm going to see if we are going to have the same picks again. Give me your happy and give me your sad.
My happy would definitely have to go to Tyler Reddick. I mean, what a good season that this kid had this year, and I do expect him to make a lot of big things next year for Richard Childress Racing. My sad would definitely have to go to Christopher Bell because, 7 wins, but not bringing home a championship in your first full year. I mean, I have to tell you, that has to be pretty tough for that 20 team. But I just look at that team next year. I think they're going to be a one to beat.
I don't disagree because I had the same 2 picks. Christopher Bell, to see his dream season come to such look, any other time you finish 11th, you're in good shape. You're just outside the top 10. You still amass some good points. You move on to next week. There is no next week. Season's over. To see it come to an end like this, man, that was painful. Painful to watch. I'm sure it was painful for Christopher. I'm sure he still thinks about it. We're not even 2 weeks out of the championship weekend. But I also think that's going to light a fire underneath him. And you're going to see a more determined Christopher Bell next season. He won 7 this season. Who's to say he can't win 9 or 10 next season?
I would probably say, I probably have to say maybe Bell, the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
This is going to be, what was it, the water boy. That's his tackling fuel. Picture someone who's picking on you, Bobby Boucher. Well, I'm sure there's going to be a crew chief or a spotter somewhere going, just remember Miami, Christopher Bell, and he's going to go all Bobby Boucher on the field.
Oh, yeah.
But let's go to our final point standings for the Xfinity Series 2018 season. I'll give you the top 20 because all these guys deserve a little bit of a tip of the hat and a nod in one way, shape, or form. But once again, your champion, Tyler Reddick. Cole Custer was second. Daniel Hemrick, third. Christopher Bell, fourth. Elliott Sadler retires with a 5th place finish in his last season. Matt Tifft, 6th. Justin Allgaier, 7th. Austin Cindric, 8th. Brandon Jones, 9th. And Ross Chastain rounded out your top 10 in points. 11th was Ryan Reed. 12th was Ryan Truex. 13th, John Hunter Nemechek. 14, Michael Annett. 15, Jeremy Clements. 16, Ryan Sieg. 17, Alex LeBay. 18, Spencer Gallagher, another one leaving the series too soon. 19, Garrett Smithley. And Joey Gase rounds out the top 20 in points for the season that was 2018 Xfinity. Now we go to the points. I took Christopher Bell as my lock. He finished 11th. I took Cole Custer as my sleeper. He finished 7th. You add that up, you get 13. You divide that by 2. My finish was a 6.5. Corey, you took Cole Custer as your lock. He finished second. You took Daniel Hemrick as your sleeper. He finished fourth. That's a finish of 6. You divide that by 2, you get a finish of 3. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2018 Xfinity Picks champion, Mr. Corey Huffnagel.
Yay!
You sound really impressed with that. I'm just going to leave that alone. All right, before we start on the 40 Go Boost 400, you had a chance to come down. We did the flag to flag coverage. It's out there on YouTube right now. First of all, thank you very much to Mark Azarju and his lovely wife Anya for opening their home to not only myself almost every week, but to Corey and Chelsea Tzatziki Sauce, but to the C&J Speedway review. We had a blast. Everybody loved it. And I had a great time. What did you think of your first time in the Azarju mini mansion?
Well, I could just probably say it was awesome, and the fact that he's a diehard Bears fan with a lot of like Bears memorabilia and everything that's like Chicago Bears related. I was literally like ecstatic. But then yet again, like, this just pretty much goes to show you that Mark's dedicated to his team, and I tip the good hat to that, and not to mention Skip. What a character he was. He was he was like, honestly, like I have to say Skip was just like literally a character last Sunday, and he was just amazing. And I know how much he loves his Dallas Cowboys, and now which he loves Joey Logano, which of course now that Jimmy Johnson, who I probably say is, I don't know if he's gonna ever win a race again, but no, I'd say the whole party this past weekend was pretty fun. It was we had a lot of good laughs, and not to mention Chris ended up pulling off the dance moves to the Bare Naked Lady song, which is
yes,
quite entertaining as well. And but everything else in between, it was great.
I tried to warn you guys ahead of time that Skip was 1,000% off his rocker. And if you guys don't know what Corey's talking about, go to our Facebook page, look for the video of Skip at the end of the race. It said all. And I've been bugging him for 2 years. You got to pick a new driver. Jimmy Johnson just doesn't have what it takes anymore. He's not carrying his weight. You need a new driver. And he always did mention, Skip always did mention, well, I kind of like Logano. He's a local boy. He's one of us. And I was like, no, he's not one of us. He's one of you. I'm not from here originally, but he's one of you.
Right.
But yeah. He said it. Just before we went hot, he says, I'm picking Logano. I'm sticking to it. There's no changing. This is my guy now. And when the race finished, and obviously you guys know Logano wins the race, wins the championship. Fantastic. People that I know, I work in Middletown, as you guys know, where Joey Logano was originally from. And people have been talking about it nonstop for almost 2 weeks. It's really cool. And I couldn't be happier for Joey. I couldn't be happier for his sister Danielle, his mom. I'm not a real big fan of his dad because they're gonna kill my boy. They're gonna kill my boy. And but no, seriously, all joking aside, the whole Logano family, the entire town of Middletown, Connecticut, everybody's congratulations, you guys. What a fantastic race. And it wasn't like it was a layup. Yes, Joey led 80 laps, but then Harvick led 58, and then Kyle Busch led 21, and then your other championship contender, Martin Truex, led 20. Going down the list, Denny Hamlin was ahead for a good portion of that race. Kyle Larson led 45 laps. Just to look at it, it wasn't easy for Joey Logano to win that race. They made some really good calls, and you and I pointed it out real early on in the race. They show the championship 4 coming down pit road. Logano stops. We're easily a half second, and in some cases 0.8 seconds faster than the other 3. So that 22 team came in with a purpose for that race. We want to show people that we are for real. And I know Logano has been fighting that for years. He comes in, he's nicknamed Sliced Bread because Mark Martin thinks this is the kid that's going to lead us into the future. Well, guess what, guys? The future is now. Here we are, Joey Logano, 2018 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series champ. They need to shorten that name. They really do. I have to take 2 deep breaths when I say that name.
I'd probably say, well, I know Monster Energy. Rumor has it, I guess they're going to be in the sport, I think, for like the next maybe year or so. And then I think after 2020 or so, they're going to be going to be deciding on what the next entitlement sponsor is going to be. But looking back into this race on Sunday, and this is something that's very interesting, for the Championship 4 drivers, all finished first, second, third, and fourth. So this is pretty much a first in this playoff series that all 4 of the Championship 4 guys finished close together and so forth. But this race 2 weeks ago, you just look at it. I mean, all 4 of those guys had a shot to win. Martin Truex, I mean, he had a really good car. It looked as if he was going to end up winning the race in the championship. Harvick was pretty strong in the beginning, and then Kyle Busch, he was kind of strong in the most parts, but Joey Logano pretty much came out at the end, end up winning the race in the championship. And for a guy that, missed the playoffs last year to coming back and winning the championship, I thought it's really impressive.
Absolutely. The thing that I took away most, like you said, they all finished 1, 2, 3, 4. I think of all the people over the last couple of years that say, oh, the playoff system's stupid. You can't have it that way. Well, why not? Every other sport has an elimination playoff. Why is NASCAR different? It shouldn't be. And you get to that last race of the season, the highest finisher goes home with the championship. Well, yeah, because you're the Final Four. You go to the Final Four in basketball, the highest point total goes on and wins. It's that simple. This race, above all the other ones since 2014, has proven that this system works. Your championship 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. They all ran clean. How many times did we see that 78 get almost close to the 22? And we're like, this is it. This is it. This is the receipt. This is what we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. They knew what was at stake. Truex wasn't going to ruin his playoff or championship hopes to knock out Logano. Logano wasn't going to ruin his championship hope going playing peekaboo and trading paint with the 78. Harvick and Busch both ran incredibly clean races. Tip my hat to all 4 of them. But at the end of the day, man, there can be only one, like the Highlander, and that one is named Joey Logano. Congratulations once again to your 2018 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series champion. And now we go on to the finishing order. We already told you the top 4. Joey Logano came home first, win and championship. Martin Truex second, Kevin Harvick third, Kyle Busch fourth, Brad Keselowski fifth, Matt Kenseth sixth, Chase Elliott seventh, Clint Bowyer eighth, Eric Almirola ninth, and Kurt Busch rounds out your top 10. Other notables: Denny Hamlin 11, Denny Hamlin 12th, Kyle Larson 13th, Jimmy Johnson 14th, Jamie McMurray 18th, and I'm going to get to Jamie in just a minute. Something on my mind that I read recently, and I hope it's not true. Matt DiBenedetto 26th, Alex Bowman 29th, and we're just going to mention Regan Smith because he rounds out your field in 39th. Before we get to Jamie Mack, give me your happy and give me your sad.
So my happy for this one is going to be a non-playoff driver, and my happy, I'm going to have to go with Matt Kenseth. I mean, finishing 6th in the 6th car, and very impressive. And I know from what Matt said, I guess this is pretty much going to be the last time he's going to be in a race car, so I think he's going to be done for good. My sad on this would definitely have to go to Jimmy Johnson. I mean, this is the first time in his career that he has finished the season winless. And I'd have to say next year, that team has to have a really big turnaround. Now that he's got a new sponsor coming in, and now that he's got a new crew chief coming in. Like I said, if Jimmy goes winless in the next season, then I really think this is probably going to be the time for him to hang it up. And actually, there is rumors that are saying that I guess Jimmy Johnson is probably going to be retiring after 2020, from what I believe.
Well, the Ally deal is for 2 years, so I can see that. Fulfill the contract, move along. He doesn't have that lifetime contract like Jeff Gordon had. There's only one Jeff Gordon.
Right.
But then you think about it, well, Johnson has nearly twice the championships. I don't think he's passed Gordon in wins, though.
No.
So, again, there's only one Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon, consistent. I don't think Jeff Gordon had a winless season ever, other than maybe his rookie season.
Well, no, there was also 2008 he went winless.
Yes, I'm sorry. I just thought about that because when my friend Chad, who was a huge Jeff Gordon fan, came to visit me when I lived in Florida, he broke his winless streak that weekend in Texas as we were watching the race.
Yeah. And then also 2010 he went winless too.
Well, you know what? I should just quit and let you do the show by yourself. But I agree with that. This might be the first time in our show's history where my happy finished below my sad. So my happy is going to go to Brad Keselowski. Ran a great race. Didn't lead any laps, but he was tough all day. Came home in fifth. And, we tend to count out the guys as they get eliminated. We tend to forget about them. We push them to the side. We're focused on these 16 or these 12 or these 8 and then down to the final 4. But Brad Keselowski, I always talk about statement races. He's right behind the final 4 saying, guys, we're only 3 months out from the start of next season and Daytona. I'm going to be knocking at your door. And hopefully I'm going to win that championship. But for all the bluster, for all the hype, for all the hubbub, I had to pick one of these two as my sad. You can't win 8 races in a season and expect that this did not sting. I flipped a coin and heads won, which means Kyle Busch is my sad. Again, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, both win 8 races. Both have a huge amount of top 5s, top 10s. They were the class of the field along with Martin Truex all year long. And it's tough to say finishing 4th is a bad day. But when you finish 4th and you're one of the championship 4 and you're behind the other 3, that's got to hurt. It's got to hurt a lot. So for me to say nice things about Kyle Busch happens once every 9 months or so. So if you're a Kyle Busch fan, remember today, November 28th of 2018, I said something nice about Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
But having said that, we're going to go to the final points. Here's a little stat I want you to think about. How competitive this season was and how competitive these 16 drivers were. First of all, 12 out of the 16 playoff drivers visited Victory Lane. It's pretty impressive. 2 of those drivers amassed 8 wins. Obviously, Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch. Your reigning and defending champion up through and including the end of the Ford EcoBoost 400 where Joey Logano takes the crown, he had 4 wins, and he only finished 1 spot below where he finished last year. We had a number of first-time winners, and for what it's worth, this was the most exciting playoffs that I've seen since this format came to be in 2014. So here's your 20 top finishers in the NASCAR Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. Joey Logano is your champion, number 1. Martin Truex, number 2. Kevin Harvick, number 3. Kyle Busch, number 4. Eric Almirola was number 5. Chase Elliott, number 6. Kurt Busch, number 7. Brad Keselowski, 8th. Kyle Larson, number 9. And Ryan Blaney rounds out the top 10. The next 6 were also championship contenders at one point. Denny Hamlin, 11th. Clint Boyer, 12th. Austin Dillon, 13th. Jimmy Johnson, 14th. Let that sink in. Jimmy Johnson was 14th.
Yeah.
Eric Jones, 15, and Alex Bowman rounded out your championship 16. The last 4 in the top 20, Ryan Newman, 17th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 18, 19 is Paul Menard, and 20th, and I want to talk about him real quick, is Jamie McMurray. Rumor is that Jamie McMurray is retiring.
Yeah, that's what I heard too, and I guess Matt Kenseth is also probably thinking the same thing as well.
Well, I can understand Kenseth. He's, north of 40, and his best days are behind him. Yeah, he's still got a competitive spirit. We saw it this weekend where he finished 6th, but I can understand Matt Kenseth. Jamie McMurray still got it. I don't know why he's wanting to bow out.
Well, I think if you look at it, I'm just not sure like who's going to want him. I mean, because if you look at it in the Cup Series right now, I highly doubt at this point Stewart Haas is going to get him. And I would probably say, I highly doubt that McMurray's going to go back down to Xfinity, just like what we saw with Elliott Sadler back in 2011 when he went to Xfinity and was racing there until his retirement. But I would just have to say that, even though that he has a family, and I know that a lot of these drivers have families and whatnot, this is already at the pinnacle point of your career of now that you're starting to think, okay, how much longer do I have, racing? And what do I have to care most, my racing or family? And I really think that's what, some of these drivers who have families, are going to start pondering about him. I mean, you look at Jimmy Johnson. I mean, he has a family. He's got like 2 kids and whatnot. And I mean, look what happened with Brian Scott a couple of years ago. He retired because he wanted to spend time with his family as well. But, you look at McMurray's results. He's won a Daytona 500. He's won at Charlotte. He's won at Talladega a few times. And, 7 wins, 63 top 5s, 168 top 10s, and an average finish of 18.2. I mean, it's been pretty decent, but you just look at his last couple of years in the Cup Series. The last time he won was 2013 at Talladega. And since then, he's been logging in, I'd say, like a couple top 5, top 10 finishes, but he didn't really improve, since then. And you look at also his Xfinity results. I mean, 8 wins, 32 top 5s, and 70 top 10. So, I mean, if you look at it, McMurray has had a decent career. And then, let's not forget, he was the guy that, subbed for the injured Sterling Marlin and won at Charlotte back in 2002. So, but I just look at McMurray, and I would say that if he does retire, I mean, he's had a consistent career, but likewise, I'd say like probably a couple of years that it's been memorable.
Okay. Not a fame career, but certainly back at it for years to come as consistent, always in the hunt. You always had to worry about Jimmy McMurray. He was not Jeff Green by any stretch of the imagination. He wasn't Dick Trickle by any stretch of the imagination. He was someone who any given week could get out there and win and stay in the hunt. It's going to suck. I really like Jamie McMurray. I think he's a class act. Luck hasn't always gone his way, but if it were the last race I ever saw Jamie McMurray race in this past Sunday, good luck to you. May your retirement, if it is true, be everything you want it to be, and enjoy watching those kids grow up.
Yeah.
But now on to the picks. And this one was kind of close, but again, I kind of cheated throughout this whole playoffs and only took playoff drivers. So we're going to split the Cup Series championship this year because I said so. Corey took Martin Truex Jr. as his lock. He finished second. Took Jimmy Johnson as a sleeper. He finished 14th. And he took Ryan Blaney as his hopeful. He finished 17th. That's a finish of 33. Divide by 3. Corey, just outside the top 10 in 11th.
All right.
Now, because, again, I cheated. I had Harvick as my lock. He finished third. I had Truex as my sleeper. He finished second. I had Logano as my hopeful. He finished first. Finish of 6. Grand total of 2. But, again, not exactly fair because I went playoff drivers all the way through the playoffs, and I did promise you guys I'm not doing that next season. So that'll be the last time I pencil whip Mr. Corey Huffnagel as we go forward in these picks. The biggest thing you're going to remember from the 2018 season is what?
Biggest thing I'm going to remember is the rise of Chase Elliott. And I think next year, I think you're going to see Chase Elliott in victory lane a lot more in 2019. And not to mention another rise that I really want to see, and actually there's another rise that I was kind of interesting on, Steve Phelps, the guy that's going to be replacing Brian France, let's hope. And Steve Phelps, I mean, he said a lot of interesting things, with the future of the sport. And he's also thinking about having, midweek races. He's also thinking about having some double headers. And he's also thinking about having some tracks that we've never been to in a long time, have a little bit of a reunion. I mean, Steve Phelps, if anybody's watching this right now, why don't we try and fix North Wilkesboro? Because that hasn't been.
Oh, absolutely.
That's been a complete rundown since 1996. And the last time we saw racing over there was like back in 2010 when they had like an ASA race or something, like a late model or something. But ever since NASCAR left Wilkesboro back in 1996, it hasn't been the same since then. But you also look at tracks like, IRP, which is now Lucas Oil Raceway. And then you also look at, Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, which of course NASCAR has been in talks with the racetrack for the last couple of months. And I thought to myself, all right, I don't see the Cup Series going to any of these racetracks, but why don't we give a chance for the Xfinity and the Truck Series to go to all these tracks where they haven't been to in a long time? And like I said before, if NASCAR could come up with the money and can rebuild North Wilkesboro, that would be awesome. That literally would be like probably like the icing on the cake.
Man, you are hitting me right in the I'm way too old, but I love North Wilkesboro. And
Yeah.
if I can mention one other, most people just called it North Carolina Speedway. I was fond of calling it The Rock.
Yeah.
Rockingham, North Carolina. Loved that racetrack. Loved watching races there on television and in person. You're right. I miss some of those old tracks. I also think some of these double dipping tracks, no offense, Charlotte should have their 2 races. Daytona should have their 2 races. Talladega should have their 2 races. But let's look at some of these other tracks where the racing has become just boring cookie cutter garbage. Texas being one of them. But that's high speed, high velocity, much like Atlanta. I wouldn't say take a data away from Atlanta. But New Hampshire's being pared down to 1. I get it.
Yeah.
There's been rumors for years, and it's just never come to fruition, and I'm glad it hasn't, that either Richmond or Dover was going to lose a date. I'm glad that's not going to happen. But you got to figure it out. You got to spread the love. There's a lot of great racetracks that either A, no longer run anymore, or B, that the Cup Series should be on, like Iowa Speedway. I think the Cup guys should be in Iowa next season. It's not going to happen. I hope it does, but it's not going to happen. And if Steve Phelps is going to do all the things he says he's going to do, it's going to be exciting for the next few years, 1,000%.
And not to mention the Xfinity and the Truck Series are going to have different composite bodies next season, and not to mention with the Truck Series having a new entitlement sponsor, the Gander Outdoors Truck Series, so that should be very interesting as well.
Just another name for me to learn.
Yeah.
One of the things that I took away was the rise of the young guns. All 3 of your champions in each series is a young gun. Yes, Joey Logano's been around for about a decade, but he's still only 29 years old.
Yeah.
You look at Tyler Reddick, Brett Moffitt, both young guys. In the past, your champion, every now and again, you get one of the young guys like a Jeff Gordon or Brad Keselowski when he won in 2009, was a young guy.
Yeah.
It's always a vet. Sometimes you have the young upstart come in, tip the apple cart, and then the next season just goes back to business as usual. This time, all 3 series were won by someone 30 or younger. It's a good sign. It's a sign that the kids that are coming up are just as good as the vets that you've been watching for years and years. I'll piggyback your Chase Elliott point. We had talked about Chase all year long, and then boom, out of nowhere, that first win came. We were happy, but we were skeptical. Let's see you do it again. Well, he did it twice more.
Yeah.
I look at the dream seasons that almost were. Harvick and Busch made this season wicked exciting. Both winning 8 races. I don't think you've had a win total like that in years, where 2 guys just went out and dominated the entire field for nearly half the season, taking 16 out of 36 races. Just a phenomenal job by both of them. Martin Truex, not exactly a lame duck. He has a job. He's going to the 19 at Joe Gibbs. But knowing that his team was coming to an end and coming home with a 2nd place finish in the championship and the final race, just too much for me to think about. And it was a fantastic season all the way around. And if you didn't get a chance to watch the races on television, hopefully you listened to them on MRN, the voice of NASCAR.
Yeah.
And if you had to listen to PRN, I'm sorry, get your money back.
Yeah, I do agree.
Anything else you want to mention before we close the book on 2018 as a season and come back in 2 weeks with random topics and just silly shenanigans?
Well, I could probably say keep following us on the C&J Speedway Review, and we need some more followers, and we need some new ones who are into the sport. So follow us on Twitter. We are at CJ_Speedway. Instagram, we are at CJ Speedway. And then, of course, keep following us on Facebook. Make sure you click the like and other that stuff. And then also subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit the bell. You will also receive some notifications on when we go live, when we're recording. And right now, we're just up to 42 subscribers. But hopefully we can get more by the time 2019 starts. And also, guys, December 2nd. December 2nd, I'm gonna be down at Foxwoods racing at the Monza Indoor Karting this weekend. So I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a fun time. And so I was just racing at Speed Raceway at Horsham, Pennsylvania. And all I could just say is Speed Raceway, thank you so much for letting me be at your go-kart place. The karts were fantastic. I had a really good time racing over there. And one thing for sure, my kart was dialed in throughout the whole entire race. And the one course, which was track 2, it had a couple of winding turns, which was almost like a road course, which, of course, racing at Kingston and Seabrook mixed together. But I managed to hug the bottom of the racetrack pretty well. And not to mention, I also got to win the race for the Newton family. And it was a very special moment. And I know my friend Joe ended up passing away. It actually was kind of shocking because he actually passed away like the day before my birthday, which was very sad. And when I went to the wake, I told his wife and his kids that if I'd end up winning the race, I'd end up dedicating it to Joe. And sure enough, I had the picture with him. I put it on the side of my cart, and when I won that race, it was very special moment. And I had to take a minute, to say, like, we won this race for Joe, and his whole family, they were praying that I was going to win, and we ended up, beating the odds, and it was just a fun night. It was a memorable night, and I'll never forget that.
Congratulations, and God bless Joe's family. The one thing I want, I don't know why this tickles me so much. You're going to be down here, like you said, on December 2nd. Unfortunately, that's Christmas tree getting time for me and my family. So unfortunately, I will not be there with you. But I wanted to mention that you go out there and you run these karts and you have a good time. And I'm glad that you do. But eventually, we might just have to have a match race. And don't be upset when the old guy kicks your fanny.
I don't mind taking second at all. I mean, I've taken a couple seconds before, and it's not easy, but then yet again, I'll accept it.
All right. Well, thank you guys again. My plugs are easy. Go follow the Loke and Jabroni Show. You already follow us. Tell your friends about this show if they like NASCAR. Loke and Jabroni Show is every Tuesday night live. And you can find us on audio on Wednesday. Also, if you're a fan of this show, Apple Podcast has us through Anchor FM, which will immediately download to your device if you have Apple Podcasts. So you can take us with you. If you miss the Wednesday night shenanigans, you'll get us audio only on Thursday. So please keep that in mind. There's also a link underneath it. If you follow on Apple Podcasts and also on this broadcast, once Eddie doctors it up and puts the graphics in, to donate to the show. Please do not be afraid to donate a little bit to the show so we can upgrade equipment, graphics, Corey's haircut, whatever the case may be. Anything we can do to make the show better. Last and certainly not least, I say, between you and Loki, you guys are fantastic co-hosts. Thank you to Eddie Focus for another great you to the second best co-host we could have had for our flag-to-flag coverage of the Ford EcoBoost 400. Thank you to Zeke Sauce, Chelsea, wherever you are. Corey loves you, and all that gimmick schnabitz and Fernum all in one sentence.
Are you so? And I forgot to say this earlier. So get ready to mention Apollo Creed's name a lot next season because he is going to be running full time in the camping. Well, the Gander Outdoors Truck Series next season for GMS Racing. So you might want to get ready for all the Apollo Creed stuff next season.
So you're saying maybe I should learn his first name?
Yes.
Maybe. I'll think about it in the off season. Guys, we'll be back in 2 weeks on a Wednesday night. The next time you see me, I will be older, hopefully a little less fatter, but my birthday is fast approaching. And remember, I like MRN, the voice of NASCAR, cold beer, anything Kevin Harvick, and Kiss. So there you go.
Okay.
That doesn't mean anything to you. Let the subscribers send in their gifts. Kidding. I'm not pimping you guys out for anything. Just thanks for another great season. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with more silly shenanigans, off-season news, and the continuing saga of will Corey keep the beard, shave the beard? Will he show up with a bald head? You name it, he's got it. And Corey.
Yes.
Next time we do a race at Mark's house, remember your headphones.
I will.
And since Eddie's not here to steal it, we're going to have you deliver the 2 most exciting words when we close out the show. Thank you for watching, Corey.
Good night.